What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get on to the topic for today, I would love for you to do a few things. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then when you are finished, leave me a comment below. That way I can get back to whatever it is that you had to say to me on this topic. For today's topic, I want to answer the question and take a deep dive into something that is popularly asked a lot when it comes to dating channels. But do nice guys finish last? Now, before I get all into this topic, I just want to say a few things. First of all, I actually hate this question. This shit actually kind of makes me itch, to be honest with you, because the question is so fucking broad and nobody has really taken time to really dive deep into it, and it just comes off damn cliche. Like, what the hell do you mean by finish last? And my counter to that would be that nice guys don't necessarily finish last per se, but guys without discernment do. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So when a lot of people say finish last, they're not being very clear about what that actually means. From my perspective, I would say that it's more clear to say a guy without discernment finishes last, because the reality is that being nice is not what makes you finish last per se. But the idea that you have poor discernment is what does, because you don't really know what you actually want and what you are actually going for. And that's the first step. If you are trying to enter the dating realm as a man, you need to understand, what are you going for when it comes to your relationships? Are you just trying to fuck around with chicks? Are you trying to have a relationship? Are you trying to have a relationship that progresses into marriage? And what I mean by marriage, I mean a monogamous marriage, because all of these things really play into that. And ultimately, if you're somebody who kind of just wants to fuck around and kind of wants to do things with certain girls, there's a certain type of chick that you're going to want to mess with. So you're really about to be playing some games out here. However, if you are trying to look for a chick that you want to marry, that you want to wife, that you think is going to be the right chick for you and is going to be everything that you want, there's a strategic thing that you should do. And ultimately, being nice, or quote unquote nice, is not necessarily something that is going to make that you getting that marriage be an unsuccessful thing. Not necessarily. So that's why I said we need to define what finish last actually means. Now, the one thing that I will say is that I think a lot of people actually mix up the definition of nice. When I think of nice, I think of somebody who is amiable. I think of somebody who is giving. I think of somebody who is polite. I think of somebody who is courteous. And even things like the word polite are actually in the definition. And I don't think there's anything wrong with those traits. To be honest with you, I think the reason why a lot of people have a problem with the whole term nice guy anyways, because it's been turned to somewhat of a buzzword or a buzz term. And it's been turned into a buzz term by a bunch of women who are using the term to justify their poor choices in dating. So in other words, if somebody goes up to a woman, they say that, they tend to date dudes who are no good, toxic, thugs, that type of thing. Their counter is, well, the nice guys ain't all that. Nice guys really aren't about anything. The nice guys get what they deserve. So they always use that as a counter to whenever you discuss their poor dating choices. And so a lot of times they'll go into this deep science of how they can basically disprove the other side versus actually addressing the bad choices that they're making. So let me explain what I mean by that. Going and extra diving into the whole nice guy thing didn't become a problem until women brought it up as a problem that men were quote unquote nice. But the reality is that the right women for you, especially if you are a guy who is thorough and wants to have a solid relationship that ends in marriage with a woman, they understand that the right woman isn't really thinking about all that nice and not nice shit. They like you for you in the way that you are, and they find the things that you choose to do to be special. But the reality is that there's so many out there that are not like that. And for you guys who are out there saying, well, I just want girls to like me, yada, 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 you need to look for a special type of woman who is going to fulfill the thing that you're actually looking for. And if that's marriage for you, then what I would say to that is, if you're finding the wrong chicks, or chicks that think you're too nice or don't like you for you, you need to do two things. Number one, you need to analyze how true that is as far as, what you're doing, because sometimes being too nice isn't really, you actually being nice or whatever the case may be. It's actually you being a simp or you being a pushover, which to me is actually different than being nice. Being nice is just being a polite person. And if you're courteous, there's nothing wrong with that. But being a pushover is something that is entirely and totally different. And I think they're conflating the two. But the second thing that you actually need to look at and say is this person not liking me because of the fact that they believe that, being nice to me, or me being nice to them, is a sign of weakness. The reality is that a lot of chicks really don't really care about the whole etymology, because some of them are going to, oh, well, the etymology is this and that and yada, yada, yada. They don't give a damn about that. They're just using that as an excuse to continue to make the things that they believe stick. They're throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And a lot of people are basically going along with it. There is a problem with being too much of a simp. And some people get mad when I use the term simp, but the reality is that simp has a very specific definition. Being a simp is somebody who overshowers a woman with different things, trinkets, gifts, and all types of good things, most of the time when they actually don't deserve it. And a lot of times when men are simping, it's when woman actually deserves accountability instead of this great treatment that he is actually giving her. And that would be considered simping, and that's something that a lot of women actually don't respect. A lot of dudes just think that it is something that they do respect. Now, when it comes to the whole argument that I hear this argument all the time, and it actually gets on my fucking nerves. I hear the argument all the time that there's a difference between being nice and being kind. The reality is that y'all are just splitting hairs with this whole nice versus kind shit. Now, let's be real. I think a lot of y'all are playing semantics, and the dudes who are saying the same thing, they're not only digging into the semantics, but they're kind of being simps themselves as well too, because they're justifying some of what I'm talking about and some of the manipulation behind it. The reality is that a lot of you all who say there's a difference between nice versus being kind is that you all are insinuating that you're actually kind people, when the reality is that a good majority of you aren't even kind people. You all are assholes with kind tendencies. So in other words, it's kind of like you being not that good of a person, being a very selfish person, really not being somebody who anybody should really want to be around, but you think that making kind acts actually balances you out. So it's kind of like basically taking a shit and then putting a cherry on top of it and saying that it's not such bad shit because I put a cherry on top of it. Now it's kind of sweet. Anyway, as I was saying, I believe that when it comes to being a quote unquote nice guy, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that you also have to be somebody as a man who discerns very well. You have to be somebody who has good boundaries. You have to be somebody who is willing to also check these women when they are doing something that is out of order or out of pocket. And you have to do it fearlessly, because you are going to face a lot of opposition and you are going to face a lot of back and forth. But part of being a man, being a masculine man, that is being able to stand 10 toes down and to stand your ground on the things that you believe when it comes to your values and what you will not tolerate from the chick that you're talking to. And that's why I always tell people, specifically dudes, when you are dating women, you need to check them up front when they disrespect you. Like literally the first time that they do it, because you're trying to set the tone to let them know, hey, if you're dating me, this is not the type of behavior that I expect to go on. So basically, I know I said a whole lot to y'all, but my answer to this is that, the question, do nice guys finish last? The act of being nice, being polite, is never a bad thing. And the right woman is not thinking about all that. The right woman is loving you for who you are and what your superpower is. And if your superpower is being polite and being a good person and being good natured and not causing issues for people because you are a problematic person in your behavior and you're not trying to be weird and strange and edgy, then you should be exactly who you are. The only thing that I say is that in order to be someone who is also deserving, who also is going to be treated with respect, you also have to have boundaries, and you also have to be willing to put your foot down and also to stand on the things that you believe in, because those are the things that are ultimately going to get you, the respect that you deserve. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say on this topic for today. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got. I'm going to have some more relationship topics coming soon. I'll make sure that I'll keep you all tuned in. But other than that, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.